Hello everyone, this is Rock here, and today I am going to talk about the Summoner, which is one of my favorite mechs, but it's also a very flawed mech. So I'm just gonna talk about it and see why this unpopular mech is unpopular in MechWarrior Online. So the Summoner is one of the first clan mechs released in MechWarrior Online. It was released as part of the clan mech Way 1 pack, among other 8 clan mechs. And when it was released, it was not in a good position, especially compared to the Timberwolf. Um, the reasons for this is because this mech has free tonnage problem, and this mech has hardpoint problem, and this mech has fixed equipment problems. So if we add all of that, this mech becomes suddenly very unattractive for many. People think, okay, why should I take this when I can take a Timber out? Or why should I take this when I take a Hellbringer out? And stuff like that. So the Summoner was never really liked in MechWarrior Online, even though it looks so badass in MechWarrior Online, and in it also has a lot of nostalgia value from other MechWarrior Online games as well, because it was so badass there, especially in MechWarrior 3. You guys remember MechWarrior 3 intro? That intro what got me into MechWarrior franchise. So the Thor has a very warm place in my heart, and I really like this mech, and I really want this mech to work. I can make it work, but many people just don't bother with it, and it makes me sad. But let's talk about the mech. So let's go to the loadout screen and take a look at this. And as you can see, this mech has 5 internal jump jets, so they are all fixed. You can't take them out. That means 5 tons is being used for jump jets, and you can't do anything about it. You can't take them out. Um, it's just fixed there. So that reduces our free tonnage considerably, as you can see, with some modest armor. And if you're a risk taker like me and you take it all off of your head, you have 21 tons to work with. And that is not a lot. That's almost like a it's almost like a Stormcrow, or sometimes it's even lower than a Hunchback with a small engine, Hunchback 2C with a small engine. And that's only part of the problem, because when you look at the omnipods, you can see that this thing can't really bolt lasers. All the most you can get is 4, 2 in each arm, and that is not enough. And you have some hard points. When it comes to the torso, you can only mount a missile hardpoint in the left torso, or you can opt for ballistics. Oops, that's the wrong one. You can opt for ballistics, which gives you 2 ballistics hardpoints to work with. And the good thing about these ballistics hardpoints are they are very high mounted, so uh, when you mount 2 Ultra 5s here, as you can see, they are extremely high mounted. What you see is what you shoot at. So the ballistics hardpoints are good, they are high mounted, but as I said, the tonnage is so low that if you mount 2 Ultra 5s, you are left with only 7 tons to work with, and we haven't even loaded up on ammo yet. So it's a very tough mech to build for. Besides the energy and laser height points, you can also make the summoner a decent LRM boat, I guess. You can get up to 5 missile hard points with the, well, Summoner B configuration. There we go. So you can make this kind of a learn boat or a streak boat, which is a better use of a summoner in my opinion. As a learn boat, it's hilariously weak in my opinion. So we don't have a lot of hard points, and that is problematic, especially if we don't have many energy hard points. And that hurts the summoner a lot because the best clam weapons are their lasers. They have amazing, amazing lasers with long range and great damage, but you just can't mount enough of them. And even if you do mount them, for example, let's switch to a laser configuration. Even if you do mount them, they are so low mounted that they are very annoying to use. As you can see, your lasers are in your arms, and they are very low mounted. And the worst of all, look at the distance between each arm. It's just enormous. It's a long way from one arm to another, and this means that this is not the summoner has to expose itself fully when dealing with its enemies. If you want to apply, if you want to use all of your firepower, you have to expose yourself fully, and that is very, very annoying indeed. Another problem I have with the summoner is, especially when you're mounting missiles. So, left arm. Let's mount some missiles. Oh, right arm. And let's say we got SRM6s with Artemis in each arm, because we're feeling brave. And look at how much this enlarges the surface area of this mech. Look at its arms, they become gigantic. And this is a mech that mounts its firepower, that has its firepower in its arms. And if you mount a lot of, well, if you mount missiles there, it's so easy to lose your arms. They're practically shield arms. And, well, this makes it easier for you to lose your arms and therefore your firepower, and it's annoying. And I'm not even talking about this. Gigantic missile pod on the shoulder. I mean, it's classic Thor, but it's so big that it reduces your survivability by a lot. It's just not that good. That's why I try to avoid SRM brawler Thors. I just don't feel like it's worth using SRMs because of how much they enlarge your mech in terms of surface area, which makes you pretty much a damage sponge. But, well, ever since its release, people are talking about this. They're talking about the weaknesses of the summoner, how it's inferior to the Timberwolf, and PGI indeed buffed the summoner. I think it's pretty much um I think it has the best quirks of any clan mech. Well, the most quirks of any clan mech in the heavy bracket. I guess I think no other clan heavies have quirks at all in the heavy bracket. So let's take a look at the hard quirks. As you can see, it has acceleration rate 70%, acceleration deceleration 70%, turn rate 35%, speed plus 5%, which is a very odd quirk. The Highlander used to have this one as well, but they removed it, so the Summoner is the only mech in this game with the plus speed quirk, which increases your speed to 91.1. It used to be 92, I think, before they nerfed the speed tweak. And you also get some additional structure wherever, well, depending on your omnipods. You get turn rate, and of course, depending on the omnipods, various weapon quirks, including an arc beacon range and an arc duration, which is very odd. But anyway, so what to do with the how can we make this thing work? Well, if you look at the quirks again, this thing is an extremely mobile mech. It feels so nice to use this. It's almost like a medium, but it's a 70 tonner. So if you compare this with a Cataphrag, the Cataphrag feels like a truck, while this thing feels like a griffin on steroids. And you have to use this. You have to abuse your mobility in the summoner in order to make it work. So you have to design your builds around your mobility. You have to avoid FaceTime, and you have to go for quick snapshot weaponry and builds that capitalizes on your mobility so you can twist and just get out of there as soon as you dump your alpha. So what's the one of the best ways to abuse this? I think I really like this build and I've been using this a lot. Let's go for it. Alright, left arm. Basically, we're gonna make a gauss rifle and a PPC. Oh yeah, before we do that, let's talk about builds on the summoner. As I said, you don't have much room to make builds on the summoner, so most of your builds will feel very underpowered. Just because you don't have enough tonnage and hard points to get a lot of firepower, so your firepower will be comparable to a medium and even a light sometimes, a slow clan light, like a nether. But as I said, this thing has a lot of mobility, and it is also a very tough mech. I think it's the tankiest heavy in this game. It is a it is a chore to kill this thing. Believe me, if a summoner doesn't want to die, it will make you work for it. So you have to balance your firepower with your survivability, and that comes from your hitboxes, but also from your mobility. So if you can balance both, this mech instantly becomes a very fun mech and a very competitive mech with other heavies or its contemporaries. So when you're building the summoner, you have to keep those in mind. And don't be afraid when you see, oh my god, this thing is so undergunned. It might feel like it, but your survivability means that you will survive longer to apply that damage. That being said, my favorite build on the summoner is the Gauss PPC Pop-Tart. Funnily enough, the summoner is one of the last remaining Pop-Tarts in this game. Well, last remaining viable Pop-Tarters in this game. Um, its jump jets give it a lot of airtime, and it's a very mobile mech, and it's a tanky mech. So when you have a summoner just floating in the air at 90 kph, just twisting and dodging, it's a very annoying mech to deal with. In order to make this build fit, well, with full armor you can fit a PPC and a Gauss and 3 tons of ammo, but that's just not enough ammo. So what I like to do is get the Summoner Prime left arm, which gives you a nice ballistic cooldown buff, 10%. Well, I think does the C? If I remember this right, yeah, it's the same buff. So what I like to do is I under armor the left arm fully and buff the head armor a little bit with that chance and get the 4th ton of ammo. So you can place this wherever you want, or in the right arm or the torso. But I like to put it in the right arm because we're gonna use our left side as a shield side, and that will buff our survivability even more because the summoner left torsos, well, depending on which one, get additional structure. For example, this one gets plus 15 structure, and this is already a tanky mech. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna pop tart, and after we pop tart, after we dump our alpha on the enemy mech, we're gonna turn our side and let the enemy shoot our side and blow off our arm or even the side torso, and maybe shoot at our legs. The legs of the summon also get a lot of structure. Plus 15 on this one. I think there is one that gives plus 22, but I'm not sure. I think they removed that. They used to give there used to be one leg that gave you plus 22 structure. Yeah, they normalized all of them, all of them. Unfortunately. So this is one build that I really like, that capitalizes on the strengths of the summoner, but it also has a very big weakness because of the Ghost Rifle. If they crit your Ghost Rifle, they're gonna tear off your right torso very quickly, and you will be disarmed because when that Ghost Rifle blows up, your right torso will be red internals, and if something happens to your internals afterwards, it's gonna blow up, and you're gonna lose your ERPPC as well, and just gonna be a weaponless tanky mech just running around. It's not a good feeling, and because I like to front load my armor, sometimes my teammates shoot my back, and because I only have like 4 or 5 armor back in the right torso, rear side, um, teammates more often than not they crit your Ghost Rifle if you're very aggressive and you're like jumping in front of them, and it happens a lot because you're pop-tarting and jumping all over the place. Sometimes you land in front of someone and they just shoot your back, bam, your Ghost Rifle explodes and you're just disarmed, and it's not a good feeling. So it's a very high risk, high reward kind of build, but that reward is not gonna come immediately, believe me, because you only have an ERPPC and Ghost Rifle, and that's like what's 30 damage total? Well, ERPPC does 10 direct damage, so 25 damage plus 5 splash damage. And in order to do well, you're gonna need to keep shooting. You just can't afford to sit in cover. You have to be very aggressive. You have to keep shooting in order to, damage the enemies and get your damage in. And that means abusing the mobility a lot. I'm gonna upload a gameplay later so you can see it in action and how it looks. That being said, I think this build is better for community warfare, where the ranges are usually great, so you can utilize Ghost and ERPPC better than the enemy, and you know where they're coming from. And because you're gonna be hanging back mostly with this thing, well, not really at the back, but behind the front line, behind the brawlers, preferably, um, you're not gonna get shot at much, and you can tank better because you know where the enemy is gonna be. So, and I do a lot of, I did great with this build in community warfare or faction play. That's how it's called nowadays, I guess. But anyway, if you don't like this kind of build, well, you can say, okay, screw this, we're gonna go for DPS. We're gonna go for damage. So in order to do that, we need to equip more lasers, and preferably an Ultra AC. So what you can do is you can mount an Ultra AC 10 plus 4 medium lasers. This sounds like a other build, but believe me, it works. So, well, you have to place the ammo in your torso. You can't spread it around much. And you can use the rest of the tonnage with heat sinks because you are going to need those heat sinks, believe me. Now, let's spread them around. The Summoner has 4 internal heat sinks, so that gives us 18 heat sinks, Ultra AC 10, plus 4 medium lasers. And that Ultra AC 10 will be extremely high mounted, and it's gonna be just below the cockpit, so you can shoot what you can see pretty much. So we're gonna be utilizing that Ultra AC a lot. And when you're out in the open, you have 4 medium lasers to work with, and that's a lot of damage. And this build does fine. It's not amazing, but it works most of the time. It's one of the fallback builds that I use. If nothing works, this is gonna give me some decent damage no matter what. Another variation of this is because we are using an Ultra AC and the Summoner has a omnipod that gives us Ultra AC buffs, which is the prime left arm. Let's take a look. Oh wait, I forgot to up armor the left arm. So you're gonna have to take off a double heatsink from the last build, which is gonna give you 17 heatsinks, but that's alright. So this arm gives us oh, not this one. It's the C left arm. It gives us plus 20% Ultra AC velocity and minus 30% jump chance, which is amazing. Because we're gonna be using big Ultra ACs, and when you have reduced jump chance with them, it's just amazing. When you get 3 consecutive bursts with the Ultra AC 20, that's a lot of damage. And we get extra velocity as well, which is awesome. So what I like to do with this is, well, if you want to utilize this buff, you can get an Ultra AC 20 and 2 medium pulses in the right arm, and then just fill it with Ultra AC ammo. As I said, it's gonna look underpowered, but we're gonna be double tapping. We're gonna be double tapping that Ultra AC a lot, so it's gonna be worth it. You can also take off the heatsink and get another ton of ammo, because you go through 4 tons of ammo pretty quickly with an Ultra AC 20 and reduced jump chance. So you basically play this like the Pop-Tart Summoner, but you be more aggressive, you get close, because Ultra AC 20 shells are very slow. So we're gonna have to get close to our enemy, and you have 2 medium pulses to deal extra damage. They do 8 damage per each laser, so it's gonna add up a lot, but this is one of those builds that's gonna make you work for it. But at least we're not gonna lose our right torso as soon as that component opens up. So that's good. Um, so that's another variation of it. Of course, you can take an Ultra AC Tad instead of this. Or if you don't want to use this arm, um, or if you want something more redundant than this one, because if you lose your right side, you're gonna lose everything. You can get the, oh my god, left arm, Summoner D arm, and then you can up armor this. Oh, well, the game can do that actually. You can go over 70 tons if you keep that thing pressed for a long time. It's pretty hilarious. You can take off 3 armor from each leg. I usually don't want to do that because you use jump jet a lot in the summoner. You also tend to get a lot of hits in the legs, so they get caught very often. So it's not a good idea to take a lot of armor off your legs in the summoner. And those legs are huge legs. Just look at them; they just massive legs. So, as I said, if you want to be more redundant, perhaps a bit cooler than this build, because this build runs very hot. You want to make something cooler, you can go opt for 4 smalls plus Ultra AC 20. I use this build a lot. This also works. It's also one of those safe bet builds, but obviously you don't have much range in this, and the small laser range module is a must. So there we go. You can use this if you want to be more redundant, but you're gonna suffer from lacking those Ultra AC jump quirks, because we have the laser arm now. We're not getting those ballistic buffs, and so the ballistic torsos don't actually have ballistic buffs. They only have machine gun rate of fire, AMS range, and AMS rate of fire, which are pretty funny quirks. They are absolutely useless. We're not gonna mount dual AMS on this, or machine guns. So yeah, and another thing about these ballistic torsos are they don't have extra structure. For example, this one has extra structure, plus 15, but this one doesn't have anything, and we have an Ultra 20 here, which is not a good feeling. So this side is much more fragile than the left torso side. That being said, alright, let's strip everything. We're gonna go make a streak build. So we already have the missile side torso. Let's mount the arms and make sure you have Artemis. Well, you're gonna say, okay, we're using Streak. Why are we getting Artemis? Because Artemis reduces your lock-on time, and that is very useful when you're using streaks because you don't want to just sit there and trying to lock every enemies. You want to lock them up quickly, just snapshot every streaks and just turn away and run. Or sometimes against lights you don't get much time to lock on. So that's a very useful thing to have. And then we're gonna yeah, streak SRM ammo. We're gonna load up on streak SRM ammo. Obviously, we're gonna have ammo all over the place, and we're not gonna have much ammo. That's very concerning. So what did we get? 6 tons of ammo. That's 600 missiles, and that's about 1500 damage potential. But we're gonna wasting some of these missiles, so you have to be very conservative with your ammo. And obviously, I don't have big clan active probe. So if you want clan active probe, you're gonna have to sacrifice some ton of missiles to be able to mount this against the lightspeed ECM. But then again, there aren't many ECM mechs anymore out in the field. I think after they nerfed the ECM range, people kind of dropped them for some reason. And because they dropped the ECM range, you can still lock them from far. Well, if you have the clan active probe, that is. So 500 ammo plus a clan active probe, that's just barely enough, barely enough. What I like to do is I drop the head streak 6 to streak 4s, and then I get an extra ton of ammo. So we are back to 600 ammo. I think this is a much better balanced build because, you know, an extra ton of ammo is 250 damage, which is awesome. So these are pretty much what you can do with this summoner. Well, that's what I've been using. I don't use LRMs on the summoner. It's just pointless. Don't do this, folks. It's not it's a very bad LRM boot. I mean, you can go for try to mount an LRM at the shoulder on the shoulder pod. If you're going for, you know, what lore, if you're a lore type of game player, like if you're a role player. But realistically, you will only be able to mount one LRM plus a couple of lasers or maybe a small autocannon. But yeah, if you want missiles, I either go for streaks or SRMs. I don't use the SRM build a lot, actually. I think it's very usable, much like a Griffin. But because you'll be getting in close, due to SRMs, you know, you gotta get in their faces with SRMs, and because you get these huge, ridiculous arms with missiles, it's not very preferable. I just don't like to do it in the summoner. I kind of like it on the timber. Whoops. And before I wrap up, let me show you a few troll kind of builds that I've been using. Oh wait, I actually skipped over a very awesome build. You know, because the summoner is very... You either have to build it asymmetrically and have firepower, a decent firepower, or you can build it symmetrically but don't have much firepower in comparison or heat efficiency. Well, this build kind of stays in the middle of that. So you can have 2 ultra AC5s and 4 energies. Well, you can barely have small lasers, but you can have 5 tons of ultra AC ammo with 2 ultra AC5s and 4 small lasers. I think this just doesn't have enough ammo, but if you're, conservative with your ammo, you don't waste it around much. You can also do a lot of damage in this build, and especially since Ultra ACs are so high mounted, um, they are a joy to use. But as I said, I don't prefer this build much because, you don't have much ammo, and I don't like that. I really don't like that. So yeah, this is another viable build, but I don't use it much. Um, I think there's another build that I see around a lot, and that is the 2 ERPPC build. Well, I don't have the correct omnipods, but I just want to show you guys. 2 ERPPCs, you do it with the prime arm, and then no, not the D arm. You do it with the prime right arm and C left arm, I think. Oh, right. No, it's the D arm. Anyway, so you put 2 ERPPCs and then you put a lot of double heat sinks. It's gonna be very heat efficient because you only have 2 ERPPCs, 155 with 2 ERPPCs, that's pretty good. And then you put in a targeting computer if you want extra projectile speed, which is very helpful. So with a Mark II, you can get 10% projectile speed, or you can go opt for another heatsink and Mark I targeting computer for 5% projectile speed, but that's not good enough. And the prime right arm gives you 30% ERPPC velocity, so you can get it up to plus 40 or even plus 50 if you are feeling brave. And you're gonna be very heat efficient. So this is very much like the Ghost PPC build, but it's gonna be very annoying to use because you have the PPCs in each arm and they are just they are a bit annoying to use when it's like this. So you can't side peek. You can only side peek with one arm. So you have to be pop tarting to be able to use both, and that means you have to wait for your fuel to fill up in order to do that. And that's, or you can just pop up like um, and show all of your mech normally, which is not very advisable. At this with the Ghost build, while your jump jet is charging, jump jet fuel is filling up, you can side peek because you're gonna have your weapons here, and you can still do damage. But with this one, it's a bit harder. But I've seen people do well in this, and it's not ammo dependent or your sight doesn't explode because of the ghost. So it's up to you. I don't prefer this. I tried this. I did all right in this, but yeah, I don't really prefer this. And then there are some stupid builds you can do on the summoner. One of the prime examples are dual Tracy 2s and 4 medium lasers, which is an extremely hot build. But they buffed the Ultra AC 2s recently, so I don't know. If you're feeling brave, and if you're feeling like, okay, I can kill the mechs with, try to assassinate mechs with open components, or just shake everyone's cockpits and troll them, well, you can use this. You're not gonna have a lot of heat efficiency though. With 5 tons of ammo, you can afford only 2 extra heat sinks. That gives us 16 heat sinks, which is not a good amount. Or you can replace Ultra AC 2s with LBX 2s for whatever reason, I don't know. Looks like that's gonna cost us a little. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know why anyone would take LBX 2s if you're not in a dire or something, so you can bring 6 of them. But yeah, if you're feeling brave, you can do these builds, but yeah, they're gonna suck mostly. Um, I also tried a variation of the Ghost PPC build. You can replace the Ghost with an Ultra AC20 and PPC with a large pulse, so it becomes a bit a brawlier, more kind of, well, the hit efficiency should be about the same. It's becomes a kind of a more brawly version of the Ghost PPC build, but yeah, I tried it, but it just doesn't feel right. I prefer to Pop Tart with Ghost and PPC instead. It's just not a good deal. So yeah, um, that's the summoner in a nutshell, pretty much. We talked about its strengths, we talked about the builds. Thinking about what I can add. Okay, let's talk about what can be made about the summoner so it's more viable. I think the short-term solution will be to give it energy side torsos. So instead of a ballistic slot here, they can give omnipod with one energy and one energy here as well. So one energy in each torso, and the energies will be extremely high mounted. So you can put large boost, and I don't know, 4 mediums plus a bunch of heat sinks. That would be pretty viable, and it would feel actually awesome. That would make this make instantly more popular with everyone because of how tanky this is. This is pretty much a Thunderbolt that's on steroids on the clan side, but it just can't bolt energy. Um, that would make this make awesome. It's a very short-term solution. Other than that, they can choose to make jump jets removable, but that would make a bad precedent because some clan mechs wouldn't be balanced with fixed jump jets, I guess. Timberwolf comes to mind. If you remember how it was before, they locked the jump jets in. So that could be a solution as well. Or they can choose to buff it even more with quirks. I don't know, give it some ammo quirks so you don't. It can mount extra ammo per ton for some reason. I don't know, just to make it more tonnage efficient, I guess. That could be done as well, but in terms of quirks, I don't think PGI wants to buff the weaponry even more. But yeah, I think the best short-term solution will be to give it energy side torsos. That would be awesome, actually. Um, or then, as I said, they can remove jump jets. But yeah, this is the summoner in a nutshell. And yeah, if you were curious about this mech and you were wondering, well, okay, why aren't people using this thing? That's probably why. Alright, we're gonna ditch this build and let's take a look at the price. I don't remember its price, but it's a bit pricey because it comes with a huge Excel engine, and look at the price. It's 14 million. Um, yeah, let me tell you, not many people are going to pay that. I paid that, actually, paid 50 million for my, almost 50 million for my summoners, but if I can't imagine a casual player just dumping 50 million on a summoner. It just not advisable, and that's why you don't see many of them around, I guess. If you don't buy the pack, nobody's going to buy this. It's just not a, you know, preferable mech. I think instead of a summoner, you can even go for a Highlander 2C, which is even considerably cheaper. So yeah, I think your casual pug is gonna buy something like this instead of a summoner. It's just this is a very niche mech as it stands, and yeah, that's why you don't see them very often. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope to do more of these later on. I really have fun doing these things. So yeah, I'm gonna be uploading a series of similar gameplay videos with hopefully commentary as well, so you can see the builds I mentioned in action. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed this, and I will see you guys next time.